Oh, well, I take my hat off to Chavez Sr. He's a legend in the sport of boxing. He's one of the guys that opened up the door for myself.
He just showed up and let his balls hang and committed to it and just let his hands go. But even at his best, he didn't let his hands go a whole lot. But if he did, he could win this fight.
Is that a motivation for you to knock him out so that he says, I don't want to do this anymore, so you could be the one to say you got Jake Paul out of fighting?
Yes. So that's, I'm still thinking that I'm better than Jake Paul.
Floyd Mayweather has reacted to the Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fight by calling Julio a legend. However, Floyd pointed out that Julio is much older now and past his prime. As for Jake Paul, Mayweather still doesn't view him as a serious boxer and continues to refer to him as just a YouTuber trying to fight. Floyd's words show respect for Julio, but clear doubt about Jake's legitimacy.
Oh, well, I take my hat off to Chavez Sr. He's a legend in the sport of boxing. He's one of the guys that opened up the door for myself. But, of course, I'm still in tip-top condition, and he's a lot older now. Even when we was younger, that would have been a great matchup. But you never know. I heard that he posted us and talked about us doing a fight, but I'll be in a no-win situation if I did that.
The boxing world thrives on what-ifs and legendary matchups across generations. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. His confidence in saying he would have beaten Floyd Mayweather in his prime isn't just a bold statement. It echoes the pride of a fighter raised in a household of champions. Chavez Jr. believes that had the timing been right and age on his side, the outcome of a bout with Mayweather would have leaned in his favor. While he respects Floyd's undefeated legacy, Chavez Jr. sees himself as the more aggressive and naturally gifted fighter during his peak, feeling that such a matchup would have gone very differently than fans might expect today. Respected voices in the sport are backing Julio with strong conviction.
So I'm here with Julio Cesar Chavez, and I have to ask the question, who would win in their prime? Julio Cesar Chavez versus Floyd Mayweather Jr.
Punto final, en su punto prime. Creo que hubiera sido una pelea difícil, complicada. Yo creo que en 140 libras, 135 libras, definitivamente le hubiera ganado yo. Le hubiera ganado, ¿por qué? Porque ese era mi peso. Yo nunca pude marcar 147 libras. Peleé por el campeonato, pero no era mi peso, ¿me entiendes? Creo que en 135, 140 le hubiera ganado a Mayweather. Acuérdate que yo peleé con su tío y su tío fue el que lo enseñó, así que pues yo creo que yo le hubiera ganado.
Robert Garcia, among others, points to Julio's experience, size, and boxing IQ as factors that give him a definitive edge over Jake Paul. Unlike the influencers or part-time athletes Jake has previously faced, Julio has been in real battles. He has dealt with blood, pain, and pressure in ways Jake hasn't. Experts believe that this fight won't need fancy tactics. Julio just needs to show up in shape, and his fundamentals will carry him through.
I love Chavez. I fucking love that dude. He's cool as fuck. I love that dude.
He's gonna win.
Okay, if he wins, what does it say?
Nothing.
Chavez is gonna win.
What does that say if he beats Jake Paul?
Not much, just a good win. A lot of millions of dollars, and then maybe do a rematch, which is badass. Make a lot of money.
Jake Paul has carefully built his boxing brand with calculated risk. From retired MMA fighters to debuting boxers, his choices were strategic. But now the script changes. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. isn't a stepping stone. He's a test, a fighter with professional experience and championship DNA. If Julio comes in focused and physically prepared, Jake might find himself out of his depth for the first time.
I like it. He was a little listless. He can get listless, but he's big. He's schooled in boxing.
It just does nothing for me.
Yeah, it is a challenge though. It's a legit challenge, right? He's probably
he got his ass whooped. He got his ass whooped by Anderson Silva. Jake's already beat Anderson Silva, so it's like
if he shows up for the fight, if he's really training, he's fairly tough. How old is he now?
39.
Oh wow.
He's 40.
Oh wow.
I don't think that one's gonna get big numbers. It's just like, all right, it's not a good next step. It's almost like he's going backwards.
But wouldn't you say it's a good challenge for him?
No,
he's gonna beat him.
Yes. No, it's not a good challenge because he already got his ass whooped by Anderson. You know, it doesn't do much. I guess it keeps Jake active, and it's a boxer.
Yeah.
But the boxing, you're still gonna get validation from the boxing community, which is what he wants. It keeps him busy, I guess. So that's good.
Oscar de la Hoya, has seen hundreds of fighters rise and fall, and his take on this fight comes with weight. He has praised Julio's current discipline and focus during training. According to de la Hoya, this isn't a retired boxer cashing in. This is a fighter preparing for war. He sees a narrative shaping where Jake finally gets challenged in a way he hasn't before. De la Hoya's excitement isn't just about business, it's personal.
The expectations
A lot of
and
pressure.
then, the pressure, and he got involved with drugs and this and that, and he seems like he's doing better and he's doing good, and I've seen him train lately. I've talked to the father, and he says, look, if my son shows up to the ring the way I've seen him in the last few months, I think he said like last 6-7 months, he goes, yeah, he's gonna knock out Jake Paul.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, I'm sure a lot of people would love to watch that and see that. So, don't miss the fight.
Yeah.
June 28th. It's going to be crazy. No, it is. I mean, because Jake Paul actually has... It's not that he has something to prove, but he actually can prove something here. Chavez Jr. went the distance with Canelo, right? In Canelo's prime. And so imagine if Jake Paul knocks out Chavez Jr., then what?
Julio walks into the ring with the mindset of someone who knows his worth. He doesn't see Jake Paul as a real threat, just another name trying to grab attention off boxing's legacy. His confidence isn't bravado. It's built from years spent training at elite levels, sparring with champions and carrying the name of a boxing icon. With multiple world title fights on his resume, he enters this fight believing not in possibility, but in inevitability. While the hype builds,
This is your first fight in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
When do you want to come back? Who do you want to fight?
Oh man, I don't care, Jake Paul?
You want Jake Paul next?
Yes, why not?
If he wins tonight,
Yes, I want.
you think you could beat him?
I'm better fighter than these opponents, so that's for sure.
Jeff Mayweather brings caution to the table. He doesn't dismiss Julio's past achievements, but raises a fair point. Timing matters. Julio hasn't fought consistently in years, and age eventually catches up with everyone. From Jeff's view, this fight favors Jake more than it appears. It's a calculated risk by Jake's team, who know the value of beating a former champion, even one past his peak.
Canelo backed out and all that kind of stuff, but is this, another name that just, like I said, gives the detractors more feel for their fighter? Does this help Jake at all?
I don't think it's really going to help him that much. I mean, it will in the sense that he's fought a legitimate fighter that actually was a professional fighter and a world champion. But to get him after a 5-year layoff and him being inactive is almost just like fighting Mike Tyson.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the same thing. It's like an older guy past his prime who hasn't fought in a long time. I guess he doesn't have an MMA career behind him, so maybe that's a good thing, but it's a lot of the same thing that people have always complained about.
But I think this is a fight that Jake can win.
Jake Paul isn't shy about his goals. He wants more than fame. He wants recognition as a real boxer. By targeting established names like Julio, even past their prime, he's building a narrative of progression. Every fight adds to a growing resume that he believes proves his seriousness. He sees himself not as a YouTuber dabbling in sports, but as a future title contender.
Got a former champion sitting over here to the left with a big name. Does this signal to the boxing world that you're looking to get back on that championship path, the pursuit of a world title?
Yeah, look, I always said it. I'm going to fight really tough people, and I'm going to fight big money fights. This is prize fighting. And so I'm giving the fans what they want with every single fight, taking on tougher opponents, and this is just that.
I can't help but notice it's a cruiserweight fight. The co-main event is a cruiserweight world title. If you look just to your right, there are 2 belts sitting there on the stage. Is it at all in your mind, if you beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., that a matchup with that man, Zurdo Ramirez, might not be far behind?
Yeah, 100%, man. This is what I came here to do, is become world champion and to create one of the greatest sports stories the world has ever seen. Going from Disney Channel to YouTube to world champion in 6 to 7 years, that's the most relatable and best sports story that any kid can get behind, and that's what I'm here to do, is inspire the next generation and do what no one's ever done before in the world's hardest sport, which is boxing.
You faced some hostile environments in the past, the Nate Diaz fight being one of them, but this might be the most hostile you've walked into. Southern California, 2 Mexicans on the card. What do you think about fighting in this type of atmosphere?
Man, the Mexicans love me, bro. Like, I'm stepping into my home environment. They love me more than they love this guy. You know, Mexico doesn't even claim him, so that's just the way it is. And I love my Mexican fans, and they've always been rocking with me since day one. And I'm going to show him who the real Mexican warrior is.
Despite his efforts, Jake Paul remains a polarizing figure. Critics argue that his entire career is built on illusion, carefully picked opponents, marketing over merit, and more spectacle than substance. To them, the Julio fight is just another example of style over substance. They claim it's less about proving skill and more about preserving image. Numbers don't lie. No matter how much criticism surrounds Jake Paul, people still watch. Whether it's admiration or hate, he captures attention. This fight with Julio has all the ingredients for a financial success: drama, legacy, and the potential for a real knockout. Viewers aren't just tuning in for sport, they want to see a storyline reach its climax. For Jake haters, this is the moment they hope he gets exposed.
My final What's That Smell goes to Jake friggin' Paul. Yes, as he's gearing up for his upcoming fight against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., a guy that can't win a fight, hasn't won a fight in the last 10 years. The guy's been an absolute joke. Well, Jake comes out and says, hey, listen, I'm getting in the ring with a champion at one point. I'm getting in the ring with a guy that was on top of the world at one point. All Jake Paul is selling is at one point, because Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. hasn't won in more than 10 years of those points. What are you trying to sell? Here's what I think he's trying to sell. He's trying to sell a fight that means nothing. Jake Paul, he's great on the HBO special thing, the documentary that he has, The Polls. He's great at everything he touches when it comes to marketing. Stop trying to sell something that doesn't exist. You will never get into a ring with a real boxer, because if you do, you're going to get your ass whipped.
Julio's reaction to Jake's trash talk was simple and sharp. Dismissing Jake's threats as foolish, he made it clear that such words don't shake someone like him. For Julio, respect matters, and dragging his father into the drama crossed a line. While Jake's tactics might work on less experienced fighters, they only fueled Julio's focus.
What do you make of the trash talk he's been saying about you, that he feels you're going to quit, that he's going to turn you into a meme, that he's going to have your dad put his hands in his face? What do you make of all that talk from him?
Stupid people stuck, you know, like everybody can say whatever you want, you know, like he's nobody, man. He's like a popular social media guy and train hard. So if like Juan Manuel Marquez say something about myself, maybe I put attention on Marquez or Tyson or guys like that. But Jake Paul, man, he's living with this chat, you know, like talk trash in media is his best, you know. He's pound for pound number one in this.
Boxing insiders have noted one thing consistently: Julio hasn't lost his power. His iconic left hook still carries weight, and that's something Jake has never faced before. Analysts believe this won't resemble Jake's exhibition-like bout with Mike Tyson, where age and safety rules dominated. Julio is active, aggressive, and fighting with something to prove. If Jake drops his guard or underestimates Julio's timing, it could cost him dearly.
It could happen. This dude. I don't trust that guy. I don't trust Chavez. You're nothing like your daddy.
Yo, you just alienated. You say, I don't trust that guy.
I don't. It's like, bro, I don't trust you, man. We seen too much of that quitting you.
He's got the quirky, the ugly stuff that'll get you by.
Chavez?
Yeah.
He still has a left hook for 2 rounds.
You said 2 rounds?
Yeah,
That's it?
It's fresh for 2 rounds. After that, the problem with Chavez Jr., if Chavez Jr. just showed up and let his balls hang and committed to it and just let his hands go, but even at his best, he didn't let his hands go a whole lot. But if he did, he could win this fight. Yeah. But he won't. Yeah. That's not who he is. He has no confidence anymore. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. The minute he also loses so much steam after 2 rounds. He's kind of like Mike Tyson in a lot of ways. He loses steam after a round and a half. He has a left hook that you still have to be. It keeps you honest. You do have to worry about that left hook, especially early.
Yeah.
But like he just has no confidence anymore. The minute things start going south, the minute he gets touched, he just
looking for out.
Even if he's not, I think in this fight he'll, like Zab Judah used to do sometimes. He'll take his beating, but he won't let his hands go. And
I'm gonna speak a truth. I think this is my truth, and I'm just speaking candidly. You got a kid that's spoiled.
Julio shows humility despite the hype. He acknowledges Jake's effort and the number of fights under his belt, admitting that Jake has earned his place in the sport, even if he's not the most technically skilled fighter. Still, respect is vital for Julio. Jake's comments about his father during the press event didn't sit well with him.
I respect all the fighters in general, but I don't have nothing significant to respect like Jake, like a good fighter. He's a real fighter. I think so. He's a fighter now. He have 11 fights, but that's it. It's nothing special. He's strong. That's it.
Do you think he respects you?
In what way? I don't understand.
At the press conference, he was trying to get under your skin a little bit, and he's known to do that, right? He tries to trash talk. He was talking to your father and all that, and so I was wondering if you felt disrespected or upset about anything that he said in the press conference.
Yes, a little bit disrespect because he's supposed to try to enter to a real boxing. That's why he started me because I'm ex-world champion. So he speak too much trash, and try to sell the fight, but I don't like hear that things. I don't know. Jake is good for that, for promote fights and these things, but I really want to find out if it's good boxing for real.
So a lot of people who have fought Jake have tried to sort of, as I said, end Jake Paul, like end all of this. They don't like that he's in boxing. Is that a motivation for you to knock him out so that he says, I don't want to do this anymore, so you could be the one to say you got Jake Paul out of fighting?
Yes.
Teofimo Lopez sees the upside. From his view, Jake is finally stepping up and facing someone with legitimate credentials. That alone is worth recognition. While Teofimo doesn't downplay Jake's ability to draw attention, he also sees value in this matchup for the sport itself. It's a bridge between entertainment and real boxing, and Lopez thinks that can help the game grow. Unlike legends who've been out of action for decades, Julio's break from boxing hasn't been that long. 4 years as a pause, not a retirement in full. He stayed active enough to maintain his edge. That makes a big difference in how this fight is viewed. He might be older than Jake, but he's not out of touch. His timing, power, and reflexes still have life.
What's your take on Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez? Who wins? How does that pan out?
People have this debate, even for us, like, has he faced a real fighter yet? Has he faced a pro fighter yet? I think that it's a great startup to test the waters for Jake Paul. He finds a way to make it entertaining and execute. Julio Cesar Chavez, Port Jr., I haven't seen him fight in a while. We'll see what he does. Sure. I think this is going to be a good step up for Jake Paul, though, at the end, and see if he's really serious about the boxing world. And I think he has been. He's been showing that with MVP promotions, supporting the women's empowerment on that. Great. He's been really pushing it, so I think it's exciting for everybody. May the best man win, and let's see what happens then.
The public sentiment is loud and clear. Many fans are watching not to cheer for Jake, but to witness him get humbled. They see this as a potential turning point, where someone finally ends the circus. Julio, with his proud lineage and real experience, is being seen as the ideal person to close this chapter. The fight represents more than just a clash of fists. It's about restoring respect. If Julio wins, for many, it won't just be a victory in the ring. It will be justice served.
Breaking news, Jake Paul is going to be taking on former world champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in a fight that I think is going to fool a lot of people. Now, what do I mean by fool a lot of people? What I mean is people are going to, on paper, look at this and be like, oh, Jake Paul gets schooled here, gets schooled here. Chavez Jr. is 39. He was not known as a very disciplined boxer during his prime. That's one of the reasons he had such a heavy decline. He's also a lot smaller than Jake Paul. What I will say about Jake Paul is he is a genius, or his team and management are geniuses at giving him opponents that people on paper look at and be like, oh, Jake Paul's not a real fighter, he won't be able to beat this guy. This is very, 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 very minimal risk for Jake Paul. The only factor that could come into play here is if Chavez Jr. decides he actually wants to show up properly for this fight, conditioned, and use his experience to win. But Jake Paul, for me, and his team have been very, very careful about who they matchmake him against ever since the Tommy Fury fight. You know, ever since here, we haven't seen him in there with someone his own age, his own weight, and his own sort of experience. For me, if Jake Paul wants to be a YouTube boxer still, and he wants to be considered an influencer boxer, matchmaking him against these guys that on paper, oh, this is a big challenge for Jake Paul, in reality, not really, is okay. But I think if Jake Paul actually is what he says he wants to be, and he wants to make that step up, man, he's going to have to take risks.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time.